This is a Biology 12 review video for parts of the brain. The parts of the brain we'll be covering in this section of biology are as follows. As a review, fill out each section of the brain as pointed to by the arrows. You can check your answer by unpausing the video and following along, where we will identify each structure as well as giving its purpose. The first area we will be covering is the cerebrum, or the cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex is located in the cerebrum. The cerebrum is, as it is pointing to, this entire region of the brain. We can't just say it's here, it's actually all over. It's the part of the brain that we think of as the brain, the wrinkly portion on the outside that gives us our consciousness. It's called the cerebrum. The cerebrum is responsible for consciousness and controls the central nervous system. So we have sensory perception, learning, memory, conscious behavior.
Where's your head? Yes. And where's your ears? Good. That's your head again. Where's your nose? Very good. And where's your toes? Toes, yes. Where's your tummy? Tummy.
As well as our skeletal muscle control. So the commands to actually move your skeletal muscles, move your arm around, move your legs around, decide to go somewhere, are all controlled here from your cerebrum. It's essentially what makes you, you. The next area we're going to look at is the corpus callosum. This area. The corpus callosum is this structure here. And this structure allows the right and left cerebral hemispheres to share or exchange information. Your brain is essentially divided in half. In order to coordinate communication between the two sides of the brain, you need to be able to share and relay that information. The corpus callosum allows that relay. So the two sections we just covered is the cerebrum / cerebral cortex, which is within the cerebrum, and the corpus callosum. The next section will be covering the cerebellum. The cerebellum is located right here. And it is this part of the brain. It coordinates muscle for posture, tone, and balance required for smooth and graceful motion. Proprioception, which is the unconscious perception of movement and spatial orientation arising from stimuli within the body itself, is, you can think of it as knowing where you are where your eyes are closed. The following is an example of some smooth and graceful motion. And that is the cerebellum. The next structure is the medulla oblongata, sometimes also called the brainstem. The medulla oblongata is located in this region and controls your autonomic nervous system. Your autonomic nervous system regulates your heart rate, your breathing rate, vasoconstriction. It'll detect carbon dioxide and hydrogen ions, so it'll cause you to breathe. And regulate your breathing, and it has all the reflex centers for coughing, sneezing, swallowing, the suck reflex, and vomiting. It essentially controls the critical reflexes you need to survive. Breathing, heart rate, coughing, all these kinds of things. We will now move to the next slide. The first area we are going to discuss is the pons. The pons are located here and are also part of the autonomic nervous system. It relays sensory information between the cerebellum and the cerebrum. If the cerebellum coordinates the muscle movements, it's the cerebrum that tells your cerebellum what movements to do. So it decides, I'm going to dance, I'm going to get up, I'm going to run, but the cerebellum is in charge of coordinating what muscles, what reflexes, what things, when. Next up is the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus has already been extensively discussed in the sexual reproductive system that we did earlier this year. The hypothalamus is in charge of maintaining homeostasis. It synthesizes ADH and oxytocin. It controls the pituitary gland, also the centers for hunger, thirst.
You want your bottle?
Body temperature, blood volume, blood pressure, and sleep. So all the things you need to be kept in balance. Your blood temperature has to be kept, your temperature has to be kept at the right point. The amount of blood volume has to be kept at a central point. Your blood pressure has to be kept within certain limits. When you get too low in blood sugar, you need to eat. All these areas for maintaining your body at a constant state, homeostasis, is required and is done by your hypothalamus. It also releases GnRH to stimulate the anterior pituitary. Now the hypothalamus is located in this region, and the pituitary gland is located right underneath it here. Hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and as we'll see later, the thalamus is up here, which is why this area is called the hypothalamus. And now for our next slide, the thalamus. The thalamus serves as a relay station for sensory impulses, channeling them to the appropriate regions of the cortex for interpretation. So the thalamus is located in this region, and it takes in the information from your senses and coordinates it and gives the information to your cerebrum and your cerebral cortex so that they can then process the information. So it coordinates all the light and the sounds, gives that information to your cerebrum so that it can decide what to do with it. And that is the review video for Biology 12, Parts of the Brain.
Who do you love?